Leadership is a very interesting topic. I think most of us, when we think about leadership, we think about leaders, and then we have in mind a certain kind of leader. Maybe the prototypical model is Moses. Right? An individual, charismatic, bold, with large numbers of followers, and who has their flaws, but ultimately the leadership is placed on one person, and that person stands out in front. What I've seen and what's been most intriguing to me in recent years are really alternative leadership models, and the work that I do. I work at Jewish Funds for Justice. We've really tried to help develop some of these alternatives. I'll give one specific example. In synagogues, we work with over 100 synagogues that are doing organizing work in the community. So they're part of networks that are interfaith networks. They work with churches, and they do a lot of internal conversations, development, relationship building before they enter into these relationships with other churches, and then they work collectively around issues that they've raised themselves, priorities that they have. It's not the rabbi, right, who we think of as traditionally being the leader, who's necessarily out front. In fact, what this model teaches is the ideal is to find somebody who did not yet discover their voice, who may have been a very quiet or isolated member of the congregation, and to be able to bring them into relationship with people, but also show them a way that they can stand in front of a congregation, and even more than a congregation, in front of hundreds of people from a dozen congregations, and maybe the mayor of the town that they live in, and speak about a personal story that illustrates an issue they're working on, how they lost their health care and this is important to them, or how they've suffered from gun violence. Whatever it is, to be able to do that in a public forum, despite the fact that they may not have positional power, they may not be wealthy, they may not have the respect of the congregation because they're a rabbi or because they're learned, but because they're in relationship with people in the community, and because they have something to say and they've acquired the skills to say it. That's a different kind of leadership, and we've been really trying to encourage both those kinds of leaders to emerge, but also for the community to recognize, lift up, and respect that kind of leadership. And it goes sort of to what I've said before about the kind of community we want to create, the kind of participation that we want to have. We'll only be successful when we find and hold up those kinds of leaders and move away from sort of fetishizing or obsessing over the charismatic rabbi or other communal leader who we put out front without building up broadly the community.